Welcome back to another episode of the Enthusiastic Life Podcast. I'm Brendan Walsh, your host, and you are...
I was just interrupting me. I'm Ryan DeWan.
Interrupting Cow.
Producer extraordinaire.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Welcome back. Our episode this week is Lulu Fall. Lulu is the Executive Director of Cabaret 313, which is a local nonprofit that brings in Broadway artists and other performers to the Detroit area to perform. Lulu is a Broadway performer herself. We talk about her background, her history, what brought her to Detroit, and what got her involved in Cabaret 313, and she's really cool.
I loved having Lulu on. It was really cool to hear her story from like when she was just starting out in Washington, D.C. and going back and forth between Washington, D.C. and New York for auditions and trying to earn parts.
The megabus. I know from living in D.C.,
yes.
We knew the megabus. $25 round trip.
Yeah.
DC to New York.
And just like the unknown of like trying out for something with like hundreds of, other people in the room and not knowing like if you're going to get called back or not. And yeah, it's a great story.
Cattle calls are a real thing.
And like for Brendan, I did not realize it until like halfway through the pod, but this was like having Tom Brady on the pod for Brendan. So if you want to see a podcast where Brendan gets like really excited, like this was like talking to a megastar for him. It was.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was fun. So please enjoy our episode with Lulu Fall. So Lulu Fall, welcome to the Enthusiastic Life Podcast.
Thank you.
I'm so excited that you're here.
I am so happy to be here.
Do you mind introducing yourself to our audience?
Absolutely. My name is Lulu Fall. I am a singer. I am an award-winning songwriter, Broadway and TV actor. I am a visual artist. And I am also an educator and the Cabaret 313 Executive Director. So I do a lot of things.
Yeah, that's a lot of hats.
Yeah, a lot of hats.
How do you keep track of all that? I mean, that's a lot. You're doing a lot of things.
Yeah, it is a lot of things. And, every once in a while, people say, oh, you're and I hate this saying, but like a jack of all trades, a master of none, because for me, it just kind of makes it seem as though I'm just kind of bopping around, just doing things without any tether or any passion or any love behind it. So I personally just don't really like that saying, but I do wear many hats. And how do I keep it all together? Well, there's one through line, and that through line is my insane love and passion for the arts.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I have a question about that. Mm-hmm. But first, I always like to start with our origin. So how did we meet? I mean, it's a recent story, so it's fresh in our minds.
Oh, it's very fresh, like last week fresh.
Yeah.
How do we meet? Okay. So as I said, I am the Cabaret 313 Executive Director. It's a 13-year nonprofit that is geared towards bringing the art form of cabaret to Detroit, plus educational programming. And one of Cabaret 313's former board members, and I'm not just saying this because we are on air, but he was my favorite board member because he's just so cool and artsy-fartsy. Bruce Kreidler, he called me and said, Lulu, I need to introduce you to someone. I said, okay. He said, Brendan Walsh. I said, who is that? He said, Brendan Walsh. He might end up being a great board member, a great addition for Cabaret 313. I said, okay, great. And so over the course of what felt like maybe 2 or 3 weeks, we were trying to figure out, a good date and time to get together. And finally, I believe last week, we got together, the three of us, at Detroit Athletic Club.
And it worked out great because I had a slot open and
yes.
you were available. So
yes.
So lucky that we were able to make that work.
Yeah. And I remember you saying, okay, this might be kismet, but can you check to see if on Monday at 1 o'clock you'll be available? I thought, well, I have no idea because my life is in my planner. So I go home, I check my planner, I was available.
Okay, so when you said that, it prompted the question, are you a paper planner person?
Yes.
That's awesome. Well,
yes.
You have to be one of the few people. Tell me about that because that's crazy.
I know, right?
Sorry. No. That's not a fair word. It's not crazy. It's crazy that, we're such a digital world, right? So I apologize. It's not crazy. That's so unique that, tell me how that came to be.
I'm a very tactile person, so I have to touch things and it feels real. Sure, I have, everyone has an iPhone these days, or maybe not. But, I have my Google Calendar and this, that, and the other. But unless it's constantly in my face, I literally forget about it. And I set all these reminders, but you know how phones are. They're just, they're so distracting, that I just constantly don't pay attention to the different reminders that I've set. So and this is something that I've always done as a kid. My mom actually used to help me with this a lot. I would write things, or if I needed to like memorize, I don't know, something for like a book report or something of the sort, she would always have me write my ideas down first. And there's something about writing it down that, kind of locks it into your memory. And that part of me has never gone away. And that's why I have a paper planner. I have to write it all down. I'll erase, I'll scratch things off. Might not look legible, but I know that there's something going on because my brain, that coordination between writing it down and thinking about it, there's something about that just locks it in for me.
Now, is there a particular brand that you subscribe to? Because I know there's like Franklin Day planners. There's all these
there are a lot of different planners out there.
Yeah.
And they're so immersive these days. But no, I honestly started using a planner last year, actually, because of the Cabaret 313 job. I mean, there were just so many things, so many meetings and outings and such. And again, I just couldn't keep track of it on my phone, especially since once you get on that phone, it's so easy to just slip into Instagram or who knows what. So I got a planner. So I'm still trying to figure out like what my planner vibe is like. Okay. So we'll see. I'm going to buy a couple for 2026.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah. But then you have an archive of it all, right? It's all there.
Yeah, it's all there. And people make fun of me like, you literally use paper? Yes, I do. I need the paper. And I recycle. So, that's how I give back to planet Earth. But I'm such a tactile person.
That's why I have this. I have to write down notes. I'm a tactile learner, so.
Yeah, what is that?
This is a Remarkable. I'm giving free ads. It is life-changing technology. We can also talk about it later.
Okay.
I can nerd out about this.
Okay.
For a while, but it's a digital notepad, and so you can there's planner templates in here. So and it writes and feels like a pen on paper. Let's
talk about that. Yeah.
I wish I had like a cut of every single piece, like Remarkable, that has been bought because I have this.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. At first I thought that it was paper, but then I thought it doesn't look like paper.
No, it's digital.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's like a paperweight kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll talk about this. I'm very interested. Very interested.
It's one of my favorite topics to talk about. So tell me, when did you know that you wanted to pursue the arts as a profession? What drew you to them, and was it one over the other? And do you remember when that was?
That's a great question. So a little bit about me, and I'm going to try not to make this super long. I am originally from Washington, D.C. My parents and everyone, my parents and my parents' parents and, before, they're all from Africa. So my sisters and I are first generation African American. And I say all that to say because there's a lot of people that I talk to, especially friends of mine, colleagues of mine who are first generation American, who say that their parents initially were not on board about them, wanting to pursue a career in the arts. Naturally, because, you want to live the American dream, you need to be a doctor, a lawyer, something of that sort. But I remember I was like maybe 6 years old, and I went up to my parents and I was like, I want to be a superstar. And they were like, okay, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, and I promise you, I said this. I said, I want to heal people through music. And they looked at me and they thought, okay, all right. And what I love about my parents is that the very next thing is they did all this research, and thankfully, being in DC, and you know DC, and it's a small but very, very thriving and rich, artistically rich city. And so at the time, thankfully, there were lots of arts programs, outreach programs. And so, especially because I was fairly incessant about wanting to, pursue a career in the arts and be a superstar and heal and stuff, my parents, they were like, okay, we found all of these programs. There are some before school programs, after school programs, etc. And they just started little by little just throwing me into these, free and affordable programs. One of the ones that I had attended since I was very, very young was the Dance Institute of Washington. I wanted to be a dancer for a long, long time. And I knew that I could sing as well, but I also had stage fright. I had stage fright until college. Yeah, so it definitely took me some years to move through that. And the more I enrolled into these, these dance programs, these theatrical programs, I kept skirting away from the music programs because, again, I knew that I could sing, or I had an affinity for singing, but I was just a little nervous about it. So I, instead I played clarinet. And then I was like, that's boring. Then I played drums. I was like, that's boring. I played violin. I was like, no, not at all. So and then I went back to drums.
No offense to the violinists out there.
No offense. It's a beautiful, beautiful instrument. It just, for my brain, it just didn't work.
Yeah.
And little by little, my love for the arts started to grow more and more and more. And anytime I would tell my parents, even as an adult, anytime I would tell my parents, okay, I don't know that I want to do this anymore. I think I'm going to quit. They would say, no, you don't. Keep going. And it's largely because of them why I do what I do.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Pretty
And
awesome.
what part of Africa are they from?
My father is from Senegal, West Africa. My mom, she is from Cameroon, Central Africa.
Oh, how did they meet?
They met, I kid you not, they met at a party in France. Okay. Yes.
That's so cool.
Yep. I honestly thought they were lying. I was like, yeah, you're just saying that because it sounds cool. They're like, actually, no. So my mom's sister, her half-sister, but sister nonetheless, my mom's sister, her son, he was still a child. So she was getting like a birthday party together. She was planning, that's the word. She was planning a birthday party, right? And at the time, my mom was living with my aunt. Her name is Jeanette. And my aunt, she went out, she bought, just a whole bunch of like party things. She's at the bus stop. My dad, he's driving past a bus stop. He stops and asks the woman, ma'am, can I help you? Can I, I can drive you to your house, whatever. So
this is in France.
This is in France. Yeah. And so my aunt gets in the car. She, befriends my dad. They get to the apartment. My dad is unloading all of this stuff. My aunt Jeanette, she's kind of like flirting with him and all that stuff. And my dad's like, yeah, you're cool. He sees my mom because he dropped off the stuff at her apartment. He sees my mom. And then Jeanette invites him to the party. She's like, it's a kid party, but, there's going to be adults. I think it was like later that night or something. And so he gets there. He sees my mom again. And then they just start talking. And then they fell in love. And then 3 children later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
That is very cool.
And apparently, between you and I and everybody listening, Jeanette never got over that.
Oh, no.
Nope.
Scandal.
Every once in a oh my God, it's crazy. I was in high school one day, and my aunt, she would visit from time to time. She still lives in France to this day, but she would visit. She would come to DC for like a month at a time or so. And her and I got really, really cool. We would hang out. I would dye her hair. All the stuff. But I just noticed that her and my mom she would just always cut into her a little bit. And finally, I pulled my mom aside. I was like, dude, what's up with that? And she was like, I didn't tell you the full story. I was like, no. And so she told me, everything. And she said, yeah, Jeanette is still jealous. I thought, holy crap, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So she bears a grudge to this day.
Yeah, she does.
Well, clearly your dad was a catch.
I know, right? Clearly it was, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh my gosh. What a great story.
Interesting. Yes. Yeah.
So they moved to DC, the DMV, as we know, and they're in are they still in Maryland?
We actually lived in DC up until, well, not me, but our family home was in DC, kind of like between the Columbia Heights area and Georgia Avenue.
Oh, yeah,
we
yeah,
were
yeah.
on 14th and Shepherd.
Okay.
Until right before the pandemic hit, and my parents sold the house and they moved back to Africa. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and they had always said this. They had always said, when you kids are grown up, you have your own careers, you're married or whatever, then we're going to retire and we're going to, move to Senegal. And that's something that we always knew, but we always thought, you're not going anywhere. You're our parents. You're here forever.
Right.
But the pandemic was just the perfect opportunity for them to put the house on the market. And
if that was your family home from when they got it to the pandemic, what a great investment.
It was a great investment.
That whole neighborhood changed. So my sister-in-law lived at 14th and Newton.
I know where that is.
So, and I remember when that whole Columbia Heights, when the metro stop all got developed and they threw the Target in, and
Yeah, that Target. Oh, I lived in that Target. I did. Yeah. So after my parents sold the home, both of my sisters, they live in Maryland. And so every time I come home now, I visit Maryland instead of DC, or I stay in Maryland or frequent Maryland more so than DC. So it's a little different because I would always, take that good, yellow line train from Reagan National all the way to Columbia Heights or Georgia Avenue, because they were kind of equidistant, and I would just lug my little luggage home and say I'm home.
And so, because I have, there may be a chance that I have some listeners in the Metro DC area from my time there. Can you talk about the Performing Arts High School that you went to that I drove past a ton of times?
With the big green chair.
With the big green chair.
My God. Yep. I went to Duke Ellington School of the Arts. It's funny because I originally got accepted into the vocal department. I was there from 2003 to 2007. And so I believe from 2003 to 2000, I can't remember math, but I was there from 03 to 07. And is that true? No, that's a lie. I'm so sorry. I graduated in 2003. My brain. I was in college from 03 to 07. So I get to Duke Ellington. I'm in the vocal department. And then they say, hey, we have this new division that we're developing. It's musical theater. Are you interested? I said, well, absolutely. Well, unfortunately, it was short-lived. I say all this to say because myself and just a handful of others graduated from the musical theater division of the theater department at Duke Ellington. And I think the year after I graduated, they dismantled it.
No kidding.
Yeah. So there were only maybe 2 or 3 classes that ever graduated from musical theater, which is no longer there.
So you were in school there when I lived in Georgetown.
Really?
I was there from 2001 to 2002 or 3. Was in that house for 1 to 2 years.
Yep. I was definitely there.
That's wild.
Yeah. And here we are.
I know.
In Detroit.
Yeah. Of all places.
Of all places.
So you go to Michigan State for vocal jazz.
Yes. So
tell me about that, and then what took you from jazz to getting back to music theater?
So going from high school to college, I was trying to figure out if I wanted to study musical theater or not. I knew that I had a very different sound. I also knew that because I had a different sound, I wasn't into my sound. I wanted to sound like everyone else. Now that is not in my brain or body anymore. But I knew that I had, a bit of a jazzy tone, right? And I never quite listened to jazz. So in high school, that is when my teacher, her name escapes me at the moment, but that's when she said, you know what? Have you thought about auditioning for, a jazz program? She encouraged me to audition for, jazz programs and also musical theater programs. I was this close to getting into, what was it? Is it Syracuse University or University of Syracuse? I can't remember.
I think it's Syracuse University.
Okay.
But somebody will listen and tell us, I'm sure, in the comments.
Sure. Yeah, I think Syracuse University.
I think that's right.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me. So I started to audition for that program, and it just didn't feel right. I was also very cool with my guidance counselor at Duke Ellington. Like anytime I had a free period, I would just, hang out in her space, and we would just talk, and I would just kind of pick her brain because that's what she was there for. So one time that I went into her office, there was an admissions officer from Michigan State. And naturally, he was, pitching Michigan State to me. And I thought, I don't even know where Michigan is, but okay, I'll look into it. I ended up applying early and I got in. So that kind of, as far as like my momentum goes with looking for like other schools to apply to or audition for, that momentum just started to like diminish because I thought, well, I already got into the school, so I guess I'll just study jazz. Now there was someone. His name is Ben Williams. He's a very, very well-known bass player. He's fantastic. But we went to Duke Ellington together. He was a year ahead of me. So my senior year at Duke Ellington, it was his freshman year at Michigan State, and he was in the jazz studies department. So between him and other people that he knew, that's when it dawned on me that, okay, I guess the jazz program is pretty awesome there, and he really likes it, and he went to Michigan State, or excuse me, he went to Duke Ellington, so that just kind of immediately calmed me down and made me realize that, okay, maybe this is the right choice for me. So I went from studying musical theater to just kind of focusing on one concentration. And I think also, now that I think of it, I think I followed my hunch to study just one concentration, vocal music, particularly because I knew that I had stage fright when it came to singing. Anything else, it was different. But when it came to singing, it's just so personal. So
a lot of people have that, right? And so a lot of people, they say that public speaking, people are more afraid of that than just about anything.
Yeah.
How did you overcome that?
Well, between you and me and everyone listening again, I almost flunked out of the music program my freshman year because of my stage fright. And I don't tell many people that. Of course, I'm telling everyone that now, but it's, I just hope that me telling this story is going to positively influence someone else to, break out of their shell, and open up and talk to someone and find a mentor to help them break out of their shell. I was just getting in my own way, and I somehow magically found every opportunity to not be on stage, which is literally the opposite of what you're supposed to be doing when you are studying music, vocal jazz music. So, I almost flunked out because I was self-sabotaging, and I remember I called my mom and I was like, Mom, so I might flunk out. And she cut into me, I'm not going to tell you what she said.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I can imagine too. I don't fully remember everything that she said, but it had a lot to do with getting your stuff together.
Yes, but not with the word stuff, I'm sure.
Not with the word stuff, not at all. And she just it was the tough love that I needed. She coddled me a lot, I'm not gonna lie, but this was the tough love that I needed. And she was like, I'm not gonna tell your dad yet. Get it together.
So
I did.
You go from overcoming stage fright at Michigan State to then going to New York.
Well, not yet. So I always knew that I wanted to move to New York, and naturally that's always the trajectory. People either move to New York or LA or I don't know, Atlanta or something. So I graduated from Michigan State in 2007. To get my bearings, I moved back home to DC, and I wanted to move to New York so badly that I ended up moving. I graduated, May of 2007, December of 2007, or no, that wasn't it. I think it was like October or November. I ended up moving to New York. And my parents kept saying, Lulu, we're not one of those American families that says as soon as you graduate from college, you're an adult now, you have to go. Like, just think about it. We know that you want to live in New York. And clearly they knew something that I didn't know because they had lived life. But I kept saying, no, it's time for me to go. I want to keep this momentum up. I have to go. Well, everything that could go wrong went wrong. Like, I ran out of money. My roommate was... She was a bat out of hell, truly. We went to school together, too. So I thought, oh, my God, she's going to be great. No, everything that could go wrong went wrong. And, of course, years and years later, I'm realizing that these things weren't happening to me, they were happening for me. I needed to go back home, settle, get my bearings, save some money, figure out truly what it is that I wanted to do. Because during my time from October to December of 2007, it's not like I was auditioning. I just didn't really have like a formulated plan. So I was just doing like a lot of temp work, and I was tired. I was exhausted. I was exhausted doing the things that I didn't even care about. And it just wasn't working out. So December 2007, I just told my parents, I was like, can you come get me? So we, packed up all my things and I went home. And again, what I love about them is they didn't scold me or say, I told you so, or anything like that. Instead, they said, you know what? You have a dream. You have a goal. You are very, very persistent. You know what you want to do and you're doing it. Also, let's teach you how to trust your instincts. Let's teach you how to trust your gut. So they just kind of started to instill that self-trust in me, which at the time I thought, oh my God, I don't need this. I just need to live in New York. But little did I realize that they were just dropping all these nuggets and gems, and to this day, I trust my gut as much as possible. So I ended up in DC. I was home and I said, you know what? I'm here. Let me work the theatrical circuit in DC. Let me work the music circuit in DC. So I developed my band. I'm performing jazz around the city. I'm also, auditioning for lots of shows around the city. I did a show at the Studio Theater in DC, which I love so much. I did a show at, I don't even know if it's there anymore, but the Atlas Theater. It was on H Street. Maybe I'm saying that wrong, but yeah. So I did, quite a few shows around town. And then I was working at, where was I? I was working in the customer service department at Arena Stage. You know Arena Stage?
Of course I do.
Yeah, and we were in Virginia at the time because they were renovating that beautiful space that they have now. So we were in Crystal City for,
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
Yep.
Okay.
And I think I told myself, I'm just going to be here for like a year. I think I ended up being there for like 2 years or something like that. I can't fully remember, but, it wasn't my favorite place to be, but I thought, this is the closest that I'll get to, music and theater for now, while also just trying to figure out, what it is that I want to do. So back to your question about, okay, how did you, go from studying jazz to, getting back into musical theater? Well, Arena Stage, I can't remember the year. I think it was 2008 or early 2009. I can't fully remember. But they were doing a production of Crowns. And they did like this big search looking for the role of Yolanda, right? And this role was like the young girl in the show. And my friend Ilana, and we're still friends to this day, she turns to me, she's like, they're doing a search, right? I said, oh yeah. She said, well, didn't you study musical theater in high school, and didn't you study music in college? I said, yeah, but I don't know. I haven't done theater in so long. I don't know that I want to do that. She was like, I think that you should audition. So she was the one that made me audition, or, nudged me greatly. And so I have to, I attribute my thanks to her. So I auditioned, and, all these people, 100, 200, young ladies, we get down to the final 5. I'm still here. I'm still kicking. I said, okay, we get down to the final 3. They end up not choosing me. But you know what? That was all I needed to realize that, oh, you're hungry for this. And you can do this. Not only that, you are doing this, right? So long story short, I ended up not getting the role, but I ended up being a swing. So for anyone, I'm sure you know what that is. For anyone who doesn't know what a swing is in the musical theater world, it's basically a person who essentially understudies or covers just about all of the roles in the show. I can't remember for certain because this was so long ago, but I think it was 5 or 6. I think it was 5 different roles that I was covering, all the female roles.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
insane. How much you have to learn.
Yes.
And
yes.
oftentimes you might never get a chance to go on stage.
Oftentimes you might never go on stage. And that's exactly what happened. I never went on stage. But what did happen was the young lady who was cast as Yolanda, she was running late to a rehearsal. I was there. And thank God my memorization skills were on point. They still are, but they were pretty great at the time. And so I remember the stage manager said, Lulu, I need you to jump in. I said, okay. And I think she starts off with this monologue. And I knew the monologue. So I go in there, I'm doing my thing, I'm making my choices. And I could just feel in the room that everyone was just like, okay, who was this? Right? And so nothing happened. I never, went on. But energetically speaking, I could just feel that, okay, more and more I'm being fed by the spirits that this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And this is where I'm supposed to be. There's some things I need to learn here, right? I knew that being a swing wasn't necessarily for me. It was, man, you have to compartmentalize the crap out of, what you're learning, because having to essentially learn 5 different roles all at once, knowing that at any moment in time, you might swing into this role, or you might have to swing into that role, right? So again, I never ended up going on, but it was a wonderful few months, and I didn't realize that, again, that hunger was still there. So now I'm starting to plan my exit strategy. I'm like, okay, I'm in the show is come and gone. My colleagues are getting to know me as an artist. I'm rediscovering my love for, musical theater. So during this time, I thought, you know what? Let me start to make my exit plan from arena stage, the customer service department. So I start, auditioning for other shows, and I start getting other shows. Now, mind you, I'm living at my parents' house, rent free. So it's not like I needed to make a crap ton of money. Thankfully, like, my parents were like, do what you need to do. You're here. We're here to support you. Go do the things. So, I'm auditioning, I'm booking shows, I'm doing this, I'm performing with my band. Everything is great. And then a friend of mine who is he from DC? I think he went to Howard University, but I don't know that he is from DC proper. But, him and I, we had done at least a show together. Eric Williams, he's fantastic. So he calls me and says, Lulu, have you heard that there's a production of Hair that's going to be going on tour, and they're auditioning out in New York? You should go. And of course, naturally, I think, oh, no, I don't know. He was like, you should do it. And again, I am so grateful for those friends that just, for some reason or another, just nudged me and said, you should do this. I said, okay, DC to New York, it's not far. I got very, very well acquainted with the good old megabus.
Oh,
right?
God bless the megabus. $25 round trip. You
right?
Can't beat it.
Can't beat it at all.
No.
Yeah. So I go to New York. I tell my parents, hey, I want to go to New York. I want to audition for Hair. They said, okay, go do it. Let us know how it goes. I go to New York. I am, thankfully, I have a lot of friends that live in New York at the time, so I was just kind of couch surfing. And I said to my friends, hey, can I crash on your couch? I need to, attend this equity chorus call, right? I wasn't part of the Actors Union at the time, so I didn't have an agent at the time, so, I essentially had to attend these equity chorus calls, right? Now, with these calls, you never know if you're actually going to get seen, because the priority goes to people who are in the actual Actors Equity Association, part of the union, right? And then on top of that, if you have an agent, you more than likely will definitely get seen, because you can book an appointment, or, your agents can book an appointment. Again, I had neither. So I believe the equity chorus call was like from 10 to 2 or something like that. I was told by my friend whose couch I was crashing on, get there early. I thought, oh my God, it's from 10 to 2. I can get there at 1:30. He was like, no, get there early. So I get there at like 8 o'clock. I kid you not. there's like 150 women in a room, and they're all like doing splits, they're stretching, they're putting on makeup, they're getting dressed, they're warming up, they sound fantastic. I'm sitting here like, we don't do it like this in DC. What is this? It was so intimidating.
Welcome to New York.
Yeah, seriously. I was like, what am I doing here? So I just kind of make my way to the back, and I'm just sitting there thinking, what the heck am I doing here, right? And, I have my my resume, I have my repertoire book with the songs that I plan on singing. I have my headshot, of course. And then hours upon hours upon hours go by. So some women just start leaving, right? And I thought, oh, this is what my friend was telling me, that there's a chance that you might not be seen because you're not a part of the union and you don't have agents. And you don't live in New York, you don't have any roots in New York yet. I said, okay. So I'm just sitting here waiting. I thought, I don't have to go home until 7:00. My bus leaves at 7, so I have time. So then the what do you call it? The monitor. The monitor is a person who essentially works for the casting director oftentimes, and they basically are in the room monitoring the room and monitoring the talent in the room. And this person was sitting behind a desk and said, hey, just letting you know, they're not seeing anyone else today, so drop off your headshot and resume so you can hear this audible, oh, right? And so again, I'm towards the back of the room. By the time I get to the front of the room, there's a pile of headshots and resumes. And in my head, I was like, dude, should I even?
Right.
But I was like, something told me, dude, you're here. Drop it off. It doesn't cost you a thing. So I dropped it off. I go home. I mind my business. I'm doing my substitute teaching. I'm doing my performing. And then about a week later, I get a call asking me to come in to sing. So then over the course of the next, 2 weeks, again, me and Megabus became best friends. I'm just going back and forth every couple of days, auditioning. They want me to dance. Okay, let me go to New York. They want me to sing. They want me to do this. So I finally get all the way to our final callbacks, where, there's just the entire creative team are there, executive producers, the choreographers, assistant choreographers, directors. It's intimidating, but by that point, I'm like, well, Lulu, you made it to the end. Lay it all on the line. So I sing, I dance, I do all the things that they want me to do. And then finally, I was like, I really want this. And they were like, okay. And a speech came out of me. And I was like, oh my God, I've never done that before or since, but I said what I had to say and I left. And I felt really good about it. So I go home, I'm like, Mom, Dad, I was like, this went well. Well, I heard nothing for almost a month. And my parents were like, Lulu, we've never done this before, so we don't know what to tell you. So as soon as I decide, fine, let me just let this go, then I get the call that I booked it. I booked Hair, the first national tour. And unbeknownst to me, so we, did the tour, throughout the entire country. Of course, no one knew this at the time, but unbeknownst to me, that show was going to be eventually my Broadway debut as well. We went on tour, and thankfully, of course, by design, our first stop on the tour was DC at the Kennedy Center.
Oh,
so
cool.
I was home. I know. And I grew up going to the Kennedy Center, season tickets, third row center. I'm just staring at these performers on stage thinking, I can totally do this. I will do this, right? And to think that it was just such a full circle moment. I ended up on that stage and my parents are staring at me like, holy crap, this girl is doing it, right? And it was just so beautiful. And we were there for a month. I was at home for an entire month. It's like I'm tearing up because I just remember what it felt like to, bust my behind and have my parents say, you can do this. We don't know anything about this, but you can do this. That's one thing that we do know, only for me to be on tour and a stop at the Kennedy Center and that be our first stop. So it just felt so good.
So tell me about, your Broadway debut is through Hair.
It's through Hair, yeah.
So tell me about that first show on Broadway. What's that day like? Where
oh gosh.
If you want to be, in music theater, Broadway's it, right?
Yeah.
And it's one thing to be getting ready to go on stage for your first day, but what's that day? Like, what is that day like when you know you're going to be on stage in Broadway?
It was overwhelming. It was very overwhelming. Honestly, being on Broadway was not on my radar. Of course, right? It wasn't on my radar, but 3 shows later, I've been on Broadway. So,
and it's like playing in professional sports. Like, if you've played a game in the NFL, you are an NFL football player.
Yes.
If you are on one stage on Broadway for one show, you are a Broadway performer.
Yes.
You can't take that away.
Absolutely. No one can take that away. No one. So they treated our 6 weeks at the St. James Theater on Broadway as a stop on the tour. And they called it the Summer of Love, which was fantastic. And, obviously Hair had, had so many iterations in New York, and they had such a great big following. So we were just packed night after night. But anyway, to answer your question, we get to New York. Again, I'm crashing on my friend's couch because I don't have a place to stay. I don't have an apartment there yet. And then much like we would on any stop on the tour, we have to report at a certain time at the theater. They give us a quick tour of like backstage, the dressing rooms, just kind of like housekeeping, the lay of the land. And then we slowly start to kind of chart out, staging, who's going to be out in the house and what we're going to do. Because Hair, it was a break the fourth wall
very
type
interactive
of musical.
Show.
Yeah, you're not just on stage.
Right.
And I was one of the main ones that was constantly just running around. So, I'm just kind of sitting here thinking, oh my God, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. This feels different. And it felt very different too, because you could just feel that, electricity, coming from, the St. James Theater. But then also it was just coming off of each and every one of my castmates. They were so excited. And I kept hearing whispers about this person's going to be in the audience tonight. And I thought, oh my God, what is happening? It was a whirlwind. It truly was. It really was. I mean, that's the only way that I could describe it. And of course, there's a part of you that thinks, oh my God, I am filling very, very big shoes. In another sense, it's like, no, I mean, yes, but also these stars that have come before us, they've paved the way for us to be able to have this moment. So take this moment, seize this moment, and just be here now. And so that's what I remember. It's just reminding myself to just be in the present moment.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
So tell me about how you got connected with Cabaret 313.
Oh gosh.
And then a little bit about what Cabaret 313 does and its mission and what you are looking to accomplish there now that you're a year in as executive director.
Yeah, a year in. I'm still a brand new baby, but this baby is learning. So my predecessor, Sabrina Rosnick, she, unbeknownst to me, was a huge fan of Lulu Fall. I didn't know that. And so so Cabaret 313, the back office, if you will, is run by an organization called Art Ops. And so Art Ops, those are my actual employers. And it's an office that essentially services about 15 to 16 different nonprofits, whatever they need, whether it's in the development realm, executive realm, marketing, etc., operations. And so I had met quite a few of the personnel at the Art Ops office, just from being around town. And back in June of 2024, mind you, what was I doing? I was an immediate music teacher replacement at a charter school. I did not like it at all. Can you imagine being an immediate replacement in April? April. The kids are like totally checked out, right?
School's almost over.
School's almost over, so yeah, good luck trying to get them to get on your side. But it was just not what I love to teach. I'm more of a college person, not K through 8. So I knew that this was not what I wanted, but I just thought, I'm here. Let me just try to figure this out. Still performing and stuff, but, just trying to find that balance, especially after COVID. And so I get a call from two of my now colleagues at Art Ops. They say, hey, Lulu, how would you like to be an executive director for Cabaret 313? And I said, I think you have the wrong number because I've never done that before. And they said that Sabrina highly recommended me. She's followed my career for years. That I'm an educator, I'm a performer, I'm a great public speaker. I do all these things, and that Cabaret 313 was essentially, in her words, Cabaret 313 was essentially missing an executive director that is an artist as well, that just knows that world and knows that life. So I have some meetings with my now boss, Maury Oken, and then I eventually start to have meetings and interviews with some of the board members. And then a couple of months later, this started in June. By August, I got the job, and I was thrown into the world of nonprofit. So that's how I ended up here.
So what are some of the things you're most excited about going on at Cabaret 313 right now?
I love that we are incredibly dedicated to deepening our community engagement. It's an incredibly important thing to do, especially me being someone who is a product of, community arts and outreach programs. If it wasn't for my parents throwing me into all of these programs, these free and affordable programs where I'm able to work with world-class artists, teaching artists, people who have traveled the world and are coming back into these classrooms and these spaces to provide us with what they've learned in the field. If I wasn't exposed to that, I would not be nearly as much of an advocate for community arts programming and just community outreach as much as I am today. So that's one of the most exciting things that we're doing is I am working really, really hard to just partner with all of these different, community organizers and educational institutions so that we can kind of spread the word and spread the mission and the creed of Cabaret 313 so that we can eventually infiltrate. Is that the right word? It sounds so invasive, but so we can eventually infiltrate, Detroit public schools, charter schools, boys and girls clubs, et cetera. And hopefully I can just, through these community engagement efforts, I can hopefully begin to implant in these students that, and feed that hunger and passion that I had when I was a kid, because they exist. So that's one of the biggest things that we're doing right now.
That's awesome.
Thank
and
you.
You've had a bunch of great performers. Can you list some of the wonderful performers that you've had come in through Cabaret 313 to perform here in Detroit?
Yeah. So most recently as last Saturday, we had Brandon Victor Dixon grace the stage. Oh, also another exciting thing is, speaking of our community engagement and community programming, every main stage artist that we have, they perform on Saturday night. More than likely at the Cube inside the DSO. They perform 2 performances, and then the next day they hold a masterclass at one of our educational institutions. Educational partners institutions. So Brandon Victor Dixon, he performed 2 amazing performances last Saturday, and then the day after he held a masterclass at Wayne State University for the theater department. So some of our other artists, we had Reeve Carney and Eva Noblezada. We had Eden Espinosa, Melissa Errico, Alan Cumming, way, way, way back years ago. Who else? We had Michael Maliakel and Sonia Balsara, the stars of Aladdin. Let's see. And we have John Pizzarelli coming back, amazing jazz vocalist and guitarist. The list goes on and on. There's so many, so many people.
That's awesome.
Thank Thank you.
So as we wrap up, one question I always like to ask our guests is, what is bringing you joy right now?
What is bringing me joy? Being able to create art, whether that's me painting, and throwing paint on my canvas, whether that's me sitting down at my keyboard and, workshopping a new song, whether it's me, doing some teaching artist work, being able to create. That's something that no matter what happens and goes on in this crazy world, that's something that I can always come back to as I pour my efforts, my energy, my emotions into being able to create. And then I take that creation and I give it to the world.
Awesome. I love that. So if our listeners want to find more about Cabaret 313 and your work, where can they find that?
Yeah, so to learn more about Cabaret 313, you can go to www.cabaret313.org. To learn a little bit about me, you can go to www.lulufall, no S, lulufall.com. And you can also scroll all the way down and subscribe to my newsletter because I have a lot of exciting things coming up.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been such a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much to Lulu Fall for joining us on this episode. And thank you so much for being here and being a part of the Enthusiastic Life community. So grateful that you're here watching, listening, and participating. So if you'd like to check out Lulu Fall, you can find her on all of your social media accounts, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, I'm sure. And you can find Cabaret 313 at cabaret313.org. So thank you so much for joining us. If you liked the episode, please consider us giving us a like, a share, a thumbs up, a rating, a review. It all goes a long way. And share it with a friend. The person that you share a podcast with, send this over in a text and have them give it a listen and see what they think. So thank you again for joining us. We appreciate you all. Have a great day.